Alright, on the exterior, we're going to point out some of the differences. First glance, of course, everything looks normal. Let's come in here into the engine compartment first and take a look, see what we got. Okay, so everything looking the same so far. Ejector tubes, circuit breakers, and the starter generator. Oh, here's the difference here. The air conditioning has a different drive. I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of hard to see. I'll try to do my best here. But if you look at the aircon drive, it's much more robust. We shouldn't have the same leaking problems and the same wear problems that we've had on the other Caravan. So it should be more robust, more sturdy for us on the aircon drive. From the accessory section, the air conditioning system itself is I believe, the same. Standby alternator, doing okay here, it's the same. We have here, oh, one big thing was the sight gauge on the oil. So this is our accessory section right here, and the oil tank as well. And if you look up in here, it's kind of hard to see, but if you look up in there, there is a, let me hold it up here to see if that's, you can see it any better. There's a sight gauge. You see that's red and green, and as long as the oil level's in the green, you can see it sitting there. As long as the oil level's in the green, you're good to go. Okay, hot or cold, you're good to go. It still has the oil filler cap up here, but we don't have to take the stick out, the oil dipstick out, to check the oil. Just look at the sight gauge, and off you go. And to do that, from the pilot standpoint, we're coming in here, and we have to look. They put it right behind this system of hoses, but you can kind of see it back here behind the air conditioning, and it's up there by that top bolt. Okay, so that's a difference for us. Looks a little different. Another difference. What's missing? What's missing? Look at that, no fuel filter. There's no fuel filter. It's actually on the other side. I'll show you that later. So that's in a different place. And the EPA can, look at that thing. It's like something out of Star Trek there. This is not an EPA can any longer. It's called an ecology tank. So the fuel return after shutdown, the fuel comes down into here. The half a cup comes into here, pours into here, and then the fuel sits in this reservoir until the next time the motive flow from the engine to the center tank restarts. Anytime there's a motive flow, it actually takes the fuel from in here and runs it back into the fuel system. So it comes back into the fuel system through all this piping here. So that EPA can actually goes back into the fuel system, so it doesn't dump onto the ground even if it gets too full. Now, if it does overflow and that fails, they have to replace the whole thing. And if it does fail and it fills up, you'll know because it'll start dumping fuel onto the ground like it's not supposed to. But it will if it fails. So that's a difference there. Okay, coming around this side, no differences anywhere up here. Okay, the prop is no longer a McCauley, but it is a Hartzell. Okay, it's a Hartzell. Now the Hartzell's on the Caravan Bravo model, not the EX. Way back when, the Hartzels were actually composite. These are not, they're all metal. Okay, all metal props. And the cord is quite a bit, you may not notice it right away, but the cord is quite a bit wider. Normally on the other airplanes, the cord goes out to about here. This cord's quite a bit wider, but it's the same diameter, so you still got the same 106 inches and 3 blades. This is a difference on all the EXs and some of our G1000s. It depends if it has the provisions for the 300 amp starter generator, but it's an extra NACA air scoop cooling that goes up to the starter generator cooling tube right here. And I'll show you that. The other starter generator cooling tube, like on the other airplanes, is right up in here inside the oil cooler inlet. And this is the oil cooler. The oil cooler is quite a bit bigger for this airplane. And because that's bigger, it's actually, they classify it as a reservoir. And when you pull the fuel shutoff valve in an emergency in the cockpit, it actually cuts oil supply to that as well, to the oil cooler at the same time. It's shutting off fuel to there. Okay. So coming across here, we have, looking at differences here. One main difference you might notice is this plug right here. This plug is a borescope inspection plug. Okay. You can see our hose running off to the generator to cool the generator back there. Well, there's that other hose that comes from that NACA scoop. Well, that hose comes from up here, runs up into here, the same hose, to cool the generator back behind there. The flow control valve. So you see the bleed air, P3 bleed air that comes off the top of the engine, comes down here. Does two things, of course, just like before. Same flow control valve here. There's a divider, and it comes through here, and then back along the back of the firewall and out to the ejector tube that drives the vacuum instrument. And of course, that's the attitude indicator, the standby attitude indicator, and that keeps that lets that airflow through for our vacuum instrument. Okay, this is the flow control valve. It looks a little bit different. It's just a more robust flow control valve because we got more air coming out of here, out of this bigger engine. So I had to put a different flow control valve. Work exactly the same way as the other airplanes. You turn on the heat, it turns on, it opens this up. And when you change the temperature, then it adjusts the guts there. Okay, same, everything's same there. Okay, here's a pretty big difference right here. This little guy right here. This is our fuel filter on top of the oil to fuel heater, the fuel heater, which uses oil to heat the fuel. Now, because of this, there's no requirement for PRIST if you're operating in places with cold weather where ice might be a problem in your fuel. Okay, it's a much bigger oil to fuel heater down here. Now, this is your fuel filter, and up on top here is a little plastic bubble and a red tab that pops up if that fuel filter is bypassed. Of course, don't fly if the fuel filter is bypassed, just like the other aircraft. But it's not down on the firewall other side. It's right here on top of this fuel filter on top of the oil to fuel heater. Looking at that. Okay, so looking at the engine cowling, moving back in, and then, oh, what's that right there? We got that is your FCU. It's no longer Bendix FCU. It's one of the newer, more modern Woodward FCUs. It's a whole lot easier for the mechanics to adjust and set, and there's just less things to do on it. So it's supposed to be a better, more robust fuel control unit for us. And of course, right next to it, you can see there that there is the let me see, hold that better. We got the engine-driven fuel pump, same place, but the fuel control unit is a whole lot different. Yeah. Moving back, that's a big difference right there. We have more robust firewall cutoff doors down here. It's supposed to give us some better protection on the firewall. And I think that's about it that we can actually see. Oh, I'm sorry, one big one right here. Look at this. It's not silver anymore, it's black. Works the same way, but it's as far as maintenance is concerned, it's a whole lot more reliable because it's solid state. There's no moving parts within there, connectors or contactors and such. It's a solid state unit. Of course, that's the exciter box for the igniters. You got the two igniter leads coming down to your igniter on this side and the igniter on the other side. The fuel nozzles are the same as well. The ITT lead the same. Okay, that's about it. Oh, one other thing they told us is that there's some of these tubes have thicker walls. They're the same diameter, but the inner wall is a lot thicker. All right, walking around, I don't see a whole lot of difference in the exhaust pipe here. Coming around, those are the same, brakes the same. LED lighting everywhere, so you can see the LED lights. Everything else is pretty much the same. LED lights, see those? Now up to 50% of those individual LEDs in there can be out and still flyable, as long as you still have the I believe it's the taxi lights working. Yeah. LED nav lights and strobe lights, and the back of the nav light is actually white. That takes the place of our tail cone white nav light. Same. Okay, LED beacon light on the tail, and no white nav light on the tail. Again, that's on the back of the nav lights on the wing tip. All the guts for the flaps all the same. Brakes are all the same. They're just real pretty and painted. Yeah. sides. So you got this would be our left side red, and then on the back would be the white. And LED on the landing attachment. LED for the ice light, and an LED for the passenger light here as well. You see the LED banks in there. Yeah. These things are bright. I can't even tell you how bright these things are. Okay, that pretty much wraps it up for the differences that you can actually see. The next thing we'll do is go into the office and take a look at the stuff you can't see, like the limits and emergency procedures.